bet you could make a Huskies AI logo.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we did get
Okay.
Yes.
I'd wondered.
Yes.
Dave, can you say something to see if our speakers are working okay? Oh, let's see here.
Not hearing you yet.
How about now?
There we go.
There you go.
Sorry, I was on mute. That was my bad. I can't see you guys. Are we still broken on the camera system in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we get some? We have a little bit of a speaker thing going on. Can I have a little? I'm not sure why. It's not coming out of. See, I don't know if Dave can hear us now because Dave, can you hear us? The speaker wants to come on. Oh, now it's working. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. No.
So
Sure. From our third meeting, so just a couple weeks ago. So should we pull that out? And then we can walk through that. Okay, so we held our third session, our third Forward Community Advisory Committee meeting on the 23rd, I believe it was. Again, these were the charges given to that committee based on our efforts around community engagement to examine the situation, get feedback from them, and discuss some options moving forward. In our first meeting, we went over the group's purpose and dynamics of the district, shared a lot of information, data, student opportunities, got some feedback in between meeting 1 and meeting 2. We went over the findings from that homework and did a deep dive into school finance in Minnesota and also how that plays out in our district. And again, had homework between meeting 2 and 3, getting response to how can we build trust, because that was a theme that came up. And then we held a similar session with staff on the 23rd. I guess this meeting was the 24th. The staff meeting was the 23rd. And so they did two things during that meeting. They gave feedback on the question, what do they think our priorities should be? And then they responded to what the community had done so far. And I'll share their thoughts on that in a second. So this is what the staff identified as priorities as they, in their responses to that feedback. High quality education, recruit and retain staff, support well-being, financial stability, class sizes came up. That's a theme that has come up with our community group as well. And so this idea of student success with strong systems and supported people. Then we took the responses from the Community Advisory Committee survey that had been identified, and I asked the staff to rank them in the order that they saw them in. And so this is how they ranked those 5 priorities that the Community Advisory Committee had identified. The Community Advisory Committee hadn't identified them in any particular order, but this is how our staff ranked those. So again, I thought that was interesting, but consistent with sort of the feedback we've been getting from the community. So our teaching and learning came through as a core mission from our staff. We would expect that, and that was strong and good. Stability, something we've talked about over the last few years as being important. They identified student well-being as important. They also identified the importance of financial stability, because that leads to well-being, leads to staffing stability and supports classrooms. And then opportunities are good, but those core opportunities, really, core conditions have to be met first. In the third meeting then, the next night, we went over some data. We did a budgeting exercise with the group that was there, and then Tanis Henderson led the group through a priority workshop. And so we started by sharing some data back, and that's been something we've tried to do each time, is if we've asked them questions in between meetings, we've tried to look at that first. And so that question, like I mentioned earlier, was around trust. These are the ways they identified that they believe the school district could continue to increase transparency and trust, clear communication about our finances, regular updates on our goals, parent-teacher relationships. Conferences is something that came up here and came up with our staff too. And actually, we have a group coming out of our Meet and Confer that will be working on conferences and how to do conferences better in the future. So the timing of this is really good. And then communication through lots of different platforms. And interesting that newsletters came out as a high priority, and that jives with information that I received from Peter Leatherman who's done surveys for us in the past, that newsletters from the school, especially from the district, are really important ways to get information to our parents. And so they're, as much as they can be a lot of work to put together, they are valuable ways to get information out to our families especially. And then in the forward committee meetings, it came across about videotaping the meetings, and that's something that we deliberately chose not to do, because we wanted to be a space where a comment couldn't be taken out of context, or so that people were free to share, but something that we'll take back as we debrief. Talking about decision-making processes, there's engagement and communication again, and then getting into more detailed comparisons of other districts. Then we went into the budget exercise I mentioned, and so really there were two outcomes of this budget exercise. One was for us as a school district to get a sense of where the group's priorities were, but also for the group to get a sense of what budgeting is like in a real simplified manner for school districts. And so we proposed a fictitious school district with some issues. It wasn't intended to be us, but it was intended to be similar to us. And then we proposed a challenge for them to build a budget. We gave them a total dollar amount, some restricted funds, and then they had decision-making over $12 million of that. And then we had a whole list of things with priorities that they could check the box for, with costs. And so they had to figure out how they were going to spend that $12 million. So we had great dialogue, a lot of participation, really good turnout again. And each table had to start by identifying what their priorities were. Are they going to focus on career and tech? Were they going to focus on keeping what they had? Were they going to focus on building stability and a fund balance? What was going to be their priority and their driver behind their budgeting? Then I did a quick pause, shared some data that we've shared with you, shared with them before, but just kind of went more deeply into some graphs that you've seen. And so we're not going to dive into these, so I didn't make them big enough to look at because it was just an example. And then, like happens to us, we handed out a reality check. So scenario like, whoop, insurance just went out. Whoop, the roof just collapsed. Wolf, we have this legislative change. You have to change this budget that you just made. And that was kind of a great, to hear the brakes squeal and a fun exercise. And the folks were really engaged. They were really into it, which was fun. And so then we got some feedback from them again, had them share out. We gathered all this information on Post-its and easel paper. So we have a record of that. And that was a really good exercise. These are some takeaways that were identified. I won't read all of them to you, but you can kind of browse through these. I think these are things that we kind of deal with when we are working through our budget. So I think the takeaways supported the objectives of the activity. Then Tanis led us through this consensus workshop, and we had half sheets and responded to this question: what should our district prioritize to move forward? And you can see that there was a lot of feedback, and these were then clustered with the help of the group into some themed areas, and that's what we'll be starting from in the launch, at our next meeting on April 23rd. So we asked people to come a little bit earlier because we decided we needed 2 hours. Hour and a half wasn't going to cut it. We needed every minute of it. But again, people commented about how the time went really, really fast. In between now and then, this is the last slide I shared with them. So they'll be looking for a thought exchange link. This is going to be another community-wide sort of follow-up thought exchange like we did this fall. And so we have some baseline information from the fall. We'll kind of piggyback off that. And then again, our committee will be asked to participate and encourage those they know to dig into that. That was a full 2 hours, but it went really, really fast, high degree of engagement, and I think people are really enjoying it. And so we're looking forward to our fourth and final meeting of the year on the 23rd.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments?
Yes.
So,
Tom?
On the 23rd is our final.
Yeah.
Then where do what's our path from there, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember quite.
Left out a really important part. Yeah, sorry. So the objective of that fourth meeting is for us to, the group, to put together a product to bring back here. And so I don't have perfect clarity about what that is. It's going to be organically developed that night, whether that's slides or a handout or a series of bulleted recommendations. But the goal would be to have some members of that committee, that task force, bring that to a meeting of this board here in the next, probably in May or early June, to say, hey, this is what we've been working on. This is what we think you should be paying attention to.
And we plan on just rolling it into a regular meeting, workshop before.
Yeah. Yep.
You think that's enough time, or I'm just?
Yeah, I mean, it might take we might have to kind of budget some extra time in that meeting to do, or maybe we build that into the
Because I mean, I have not participated in the sessions, right?
Uh-huh.
And I really would like.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we can get some of the people who have participated, the public, to come in and I mean, I think this is great.
Okay, we'll think about the best way to do that, because we don't want it to be time limited, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Any other comments? Dave, do you have anything?
No, I participated in a couple of them and they've been going really well. I'm bummed that I missed the last one, but I do plan on being on the final one. I'm looking forward to that. So I think it's been received really well. The ones I've been part of have been engaged, a lot of engagement in the community. So.
I think that, there's been really great ideas brought up. There's also been, like conversations on the side and in the group where there's kind of well, how about this? And you talk about the constraints we sort of live with, and it's like, oh, really? And so I think there's been a lot of ahas, but also good ideas.
Yeah, what I would add to that too, Matt, is that what's encouraging is that, yes, we have the big group discussion and exercises that we go through during those sessions, and that's incredibly helpful. But I would echo that the table discussions that we have as either part of the exercise or even outside of that, have many people say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or, geez, do we really have to do that? Or, there's a lot of education that's happening that's encouraging to see, because without these sessions, I don't know how some of these folks would ever get this information. And now they become more educated members of the community, more educated members of our district, and I would say more educated voters.
And that's what happened in this last session that we just had, where we were able to create our own district with the information that we had in front of us, with the budget that we had in front of us. And it was, it was great. We got to create this fantastic thing with all of these staff members, and all of our students were being, given all of these equitable opportunities. And then the reality checks came in. Exactly. And that's when the real education happened, because that's when people had to figure out, where we, how do we make those cuts? Where do we make those cuts? What does that look like? Why would that happen? What legislation took place to make that happen? There was all of these different questions and all these whys that came up, and were answered. And so, like Dave is saying, it was definitely a moment where people were educated and then were able to take that in and most likely share that information out accordingly to others within the community. So it's been quite the educational process.
We'll see where this goes. I'm trying to be comfortable with ambiguity, and I'm, not knowing for sure what the end is going to look like. So we'll see.
Any other thoughts or comments? Excellent, Matt. Thank you very much. Excellent report. We will take a break at this point, and re-engage at 6:30 for the board meeting.
Julie, will this be a new recording? Should I hang up with this one and join again later, or?
You can either just if you'd like to just mute your microphone and maybe shut your camera off for a little while. It's up to you. You don't necessarily need to stop it and start it again. Okay. So I heard mute the microphone and camera and come back at 6:30.
Can you hear me better now that I'm using the
Yes.
mic? Sorry about that. Forget. Yeah, if you want to, you don't need to hang up.
Okay.
I just push pause basically on the Google Meet. So if you want to mute your microphone or turn your camera off or not, that's up to you.
Okay.
I just mute the microphones in here.
Okay. All right. I'll be back at 6:30 then.
Okay.
Right. Thanks.
I'm just curious. Is that the principal that typically end up talking to the individuals? I mean, I know it's just about tenure, about
So it's a,
Yours is. Okay. Thanks.
Right, that's the thing, right?
We're ready.
Time is 6:30. I will call the meeting to order. We're in the boardroom with Dave Collins attending remotely. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As noted, Dave Cohen is attending remotely, so all of our votes tonight will be by a voice vote. The agenda, you have the agenda before you, board members. I need a motion to approve.
So, second.
I have a motion, actually a second from Melissa. A conversation. Then Julie, voice vote, please.
Sure. Tom Gustafson,
Yes.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
David Marty. Ashley, I'm sorry. Ashley Goodman. Yes. Melissa Barr. Yes. Dave Cohen.
Yes.
The agenda stands approved as presented. Our first article of business is the approval of the minutes from March 23rd, the regular school board meeting, which you received in your packets. I would accept the motion to approve.
So moved by Mark.
Mark,
Second.
second by Dave. Any questions or changes? Julie, voice vote, please.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
David Marty.
Yes.
Ashley Goodman. Yes. Melissa Barr. Yes. Dave Cohen
Yes.
and Tom Gustafson.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes of March 23rd stand approved as presented. We move to the consent agenda. All matters on the consent agenda are staff related and considered routine, so do not require or permit discussion unless somebody wishes to remove an item. There is only one item on the consent agenda. I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Ashley,
Second by Mark.
second by Mark. Thank you. No discussion for that. Julie, a voice vote, please.
Yes. I'm going to start with David Marty. And is your mic on or can you speak closer to it? It's hard to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Marty,
Yes.
Ashley Goodman.
Yes.
Melissa Barr. Yes. Dave Cohen,
Yes.
Tom Gustafson,
Yes.
and Mark Schroeder.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The consent agenda stands approved as presented. We're looking at a resolution relating to the probationary teacher non-renewals. Casey, can you speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, board. I'll first explain the process and offer any questions, and then I will read the names before you look to vote. You've presented a resolution relating to the termination and non-renewal of the teaching contract of multiple probationary teachers. This is an annual process as defined in statute 122A40, subdivision 5, and also aligns with our teaching contract. A point of note is that although we don't have a budget reduction target this year, this process is still needed due to licensure requirements and other probationary decisions. All of the positions have or will be posted, and we expect many of the staff will return next year. Any questions?
Questions?
I have one question.
Dave?
Will the names that are about to be read, are they already aware that this is happening, or is this the first time they'll be hearing this?
Yes, great question. All of them have been in contact with their administrator or myself throughout the year, and then they were officially notified on Thursday before our break, so a little over a week ago.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Casey.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments concerning non-renewals?
Just one other question regarding it. How are they notified? I was talking to Mark a little bit. I think I understand, but I'm just curious. I was sharing with Mark an anecdote, a little experience I had in life with when I was in high school, and it was was not handled well, and I won't forget that. So just curious how we handle the notification, right?
Yeah. So the official notification goes by email on, in this case, it went Thursday before our break, from Human Resources. The staff were notified ahead of time when it would be coming. It's at the close of the school day, so at 3:20 on that Thursday. Anyone that was licensure related, I reached out to ahead of time. They knew that it was coming and have really known all year that they would be unable to continue due to the license. And then those that were not related to license, principals reached out ahead of time to connect with them about the notice.
Thank you.
Yep.
Much better process than what I experienced.
One of the things that I think is worth mentioning as well is we are in contact with especially the teachers union throughout the process, and actually the process that we use for notification has been developed in collaboration with them, so that we don't run into those situations. Sometimes, if we have many people that are being notified, it gets more challenging, and some people handle that information differently. And so this is the process that we've come up with in collaboration with our unit. And then having our union leaders know ahead of time helps them be prepared for questions that they might get to.
I was sharing with Mark that at the time, the teacher was pulled out of the classroom and told.
Oh boy.
And when they came back in, the individual came back in, it was difficult to get back on coursework
I bet.
and back into it. And he told us what happened, right? And it was just, again, the students knew it was procedural as it is now, right? But no matter what, his reaction was, I got fired, right? I just got fired outside, and it's just not a good. So I appreciate the methodology, for lack of a better.
Any other questions, comments, concerns about the process of non-renewals? Hearing none. Casey, can you read the names, please?
Yes, so the following teachers are included in this non-renewal: Adrienne Karstensen, Katie Christensen, Ryan Christensen, Wendy Gray, Jordan Hellerud, Ann Hutner, Amber Kongsjord, Tiffany Morgan, Joseph Rabers, Sybil Reuter, Aaron Saudi with a partial non-renewal of 0.4 FTE, Alice Saxton, Sarah Shanos, Peter Tyne, Jessica Tunbridge, Victoria Vandershoff, Simon Wilson, Amanda Wright, and Emma Yunkin.
And Casey, just to reconfirm, these are all related to the reason is?
They're all probationary, so either due to a probationary decision or due to a licensure requirement to non-renew.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, Julie, we need a voice vote, please.
Ashley Goodman. Yes. Melissa Barr. Yes. Dave Cohen,
Yes.
Tom Gustafson,
Yes.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
David Marty.
Yes. The non-renewals have been approved by the board. And
I'm sorry, I don't, you know what, I don't believe that we did a motion and a second on that one. I didn't record
did
it.
you not hear it? Did I not ask for a motion in a second?
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Thank you. I would like a motion.
So moved. Melissa.
Melissa,
Second by Mark.
second by Mark. And the vote still stands unless anyone objects. You got new kids at the at the hammer. Thank you. And Casey, thank you for that information and regards to all those employees for their service. We have health insurance premiums for the 26-27 school year. Casey?
Yeah, so before you have a recommendation from the Fringe Benefit Committee. I don't sit on the committee, but I do attend the meeting, so I'm just here to present on their behalf. They recently met and in consultation with our consultant, One Digital, we've been reviewing claims and expected future claims cost. And the Fringe Committee is recommending a 15.5% increase in premiums across both of the health plans for the 26-27 plan year. This would begin July 1st of 2026. The increase is expected to cover all of the projected claims and the admin costs for the next plan year. I just want to make note that we are a self-insured plan, so it was really important and we worked really hard with the committee to make sure that we're building up the reserves and have a good fund balance there. So they wanted to recognize that although this is a large increase and higher than we anticipated or would like to see, it is important to maintain that fund to cover what is anticipated for the coming year. And the committee is a recommendation only committee, but they did majority vote to bring that increase to you. So I'm recommending approval of a 15.5% premium increase.
I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mark, second by Dave, to increase insurance premiums. Any questions or comments?
David, I have one comment.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to share and echo with Casey, the discussion and the work that the committee has done has been very collaborative. It has been data centric. It's been, the information that George shares with us is very helpful, but I think the committee asks a lot of really great questions and really balances the needs of having a solvent fund balance to take care of our self-insurance with holding premiums as close to the smallest increases possible. It's a tough job, but I think the committee that's there has some great insight and works really well together. So I just wanted to commend that committee for the work that they've done.
Dave, thank you. Any other comments concerning this?
Just a question.
Yes.
Is the 15.5% increase, was that the one that was recommended by the consultant, One Digital, or is that less than what the recommendation was?
Yeah, he had indicated it was right around 15.5 was expected to cover claims next year. So he doesn't make a specific recommendation, but said that would be what was needed to cover. So we talked about a few different options, with that being the highest. And that's where they landed. So he was very comfortable with that. Anything less would have taken from the reserves or was expected to take from the reserves.
Great. I just commend the committee because when I first came into the board, we hadn't raised for years and we had to do a massive increase just to begin to cover costs and then to create a solvent plan again. I mean, they've come a long way. And so just hats off to the committee because these are tough decisions, but you can't keep kicking the can. So I'm glad that that's
Other questions or comments? Tom?
Do we have anything we can compare this to any other, like companies or being self-insured, any type of pools this size? And is it kind of in line with anyone else to compare to, or?
Yeah, I don't have a specific number for you, but he did say that this is in line with the renewals that he's seeing. They mostly work with the public sector districts and counties and things of that nature, but they do have some businesses as well that are private. And those are typically even higher, but he was not at all surprised by this. He's had renewals between, I think he said 7 or 8% and somewhere in the 20s this year. And as you guys probably remember, the last few years, we have ran far under the market and we have been adding to the reserve. So we've had an increase above what we would have needed if we didn't need to build up that reserve. So this year is kind of maybe around average or just slightly higher, but in our last few years, we're still trending below market because they've ranged from 8 to 10 and we've had increases more like 5 and 6 recently.
Okay.
Then, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Then do we separate out the OPEB group from the rest of the plan on this? So,
We did.
okay.
Yes, we did in January, so they won't renew again until January of 27. So their rates are not included in here. It's only the under 65. We do
Other
have a
questions?
few early retirees, but the majority of the retirees are over 65 and they're in a fully insured plan, not the self-insured plan.
And so when we talk about OPEB, this fund really kind of is the gap between what Medicaid would cover. Is that right? Just so I'm kind of understanding. And let's say the high event, for lack of a better term, because we have a separate insurance for we're not self-funded for a high
Yes,
cost event, right?
yes, we have stop loss at 300,000.
Thank you for the
Yes, and then-
terminology.
Yep. And then the early retirees are on this plan. So yes to both of those.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
But our 65 and older are part of an entirely different plan.
It's a separate,
Entirely different plan, entirely different carrier, and we don't set those rates because that's a fully insured plan.
Mhm.
So we're only setting these rates because we're self-insured. So those rates for the 65 and older won't be set by us.
okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, we are not self-insured in that middle part on the OPEB then anymore. Okay.
No, our early retirees up until 65 are self-insured.
Yep.
But that's not many. Most
Yep.
of them are 65 plus and they're in that fully insured plan.
Thank you.
And I think it's worth mentioning too, partly because a lot of people aren't familiar with how self-insured plans work. And even I think with our employees to be reminded that the increases we take aren't just related to utilization. They are a direct function of how much insurance we're using. So we are needing an increase because as a collective group of employees, myself included, we used enough healthcare to require this change. The administrative component of our overall spend is a small part of the cost. So that's just what's unique, I think, about being self-insured. And it's important for not only our community that has a really good grasp of that, but our employees as a whole to understand that how we react in the healthcare space is what drives this number. It doesn't make it easier to swallow, but that's what's behind it.
Matt, thank you for the clarification. Any other questions or concerns before we take a vote? Julie, voice vote, please.
Melissa Barr,
Yes.
Dave Cowan,
Yes.
Tom Gustafson,
Yes.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
David Marty,
Yes.
and Ashley Goodman.
Yes.
The health insurance premium increase stands approved. Casey, thank you for the information. We have to consider rescinding the chief financial officer designation for Carol Dean. Matt?
Yeah, if you remember back to January at our organizational meeting, we were in between Kara officially leaving her role and Alex coming on board. And so the board designated both Alex on his way in and Kara on her way out as the chief financial officer. And so now that we're past that point, it's appropriate for the board to rescind the designation from Kara. She's continuing to provide consultation services on an as-needed basis, but shouldn't be listed as our CFO because that role lands exclusively with Alex now.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. I need a motion to rescind.
So moved.
So moved by
Ashley.
And second?
Second by Mark.
Second by Mark. Thank you. Any questions or concerns? Requests regarding the CFO designation? If not, Julie will take a voice vote.
Dave Cowan,
Yes.
Tom Gustafson,
Yes.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
David Marty.
Yes.
Ashley Goodman.
Yes.
Melissa Barr.
Yes.
With thanks to Carol Dean, we've rescinded her status as CFO and appreciate her service and continued assistance for our board and organization. Moving on, we need a financial report, and Alex Kaiser,
Yeah,
it's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, board. So just wanted to explain that there's, the reason for a couple new documents in the board packet. Early on when I started, had some conversations about how can we more consistently provide an easy to read, transparent report each month to the board that helps everyone understand where the district's money is, how it's being held, and kind of how it flows within the funds. So as you said, this is just information only. I can go through it as much as anyone wants, or if anyone has any questions about the reports that were presented.
Wish of the board?
I'd like to make one comment. I really appreciate it. I like having the ability to kind of look at where we budgeted, how that's tracking relative to that, as we've discussed. I like what you did. You did a little different than what I was envisioning, but I actually like what you did better. How's that? So
When I started working on it, I found, kind of struggling to come up with the best way to put it on paper. So I am open to any suggestions or ideas.
the one question I had was, and I go back, I'm kind of trying to look at the 30,000 foot view, right? And I go to your last where we had talked about the trending versus budget, right? On there, it had a Fund 5 that it had listed from way back when. I was just curious because it's no longer in there, and I didn't see a description for what do we. And I know I'm grabbing you right out of nowhere with this blind question, but what was that Fund 5?
So that's the capital expenditure fund.
Okay.
So some districts, especially in our area of the state, separate out transportation, capital, student activities, but from the state's perspective, it's all part of the general fund.
Okay.
So a decision was made at some point to discontinue the use of Fund 5 a couple of years ago, it sounds like.
Okay.
But we included it on there just to point out that if that was active, that would be part of that general fund.
Again, this is for information only. Any other questions or comments for Alex regarding the financial reports?
Did Dave have?
No, I didn't. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex. Nice job.
Alex, thank you very much. Much appreciated. We're moving on to partnerships and board reports. We'll start with our student representative, Aaron. What's going on in school?
So spring sports have pretty much all started here. So with that being said, baseball has a game tomorrow at home against Superior. Softball has 2 games this week at home, one on Tuesday against Superior, and then one against Alexandria on Friday. Girls lacrosse plays Centennial on Friday and Chisago Lakes on Saturday. Boys lacrosse plays the Duluth Wolfpack, Duluth Denfeld and Duluth East combined at home on Thursday, and then they're in Cloquet on Saturday. Track and fields had 2 indoor meets so far. Their first outdoor meet is on Thursday in Anoka. Girls flag football started their season today with games to come on Sundays. And then boys tennis has a match tomorrow in Rock Ridge. Student council has been really working on Prom with Purpose, which is coming up this Thursday. We're still looking to receive donations and finish planning, but it's looking like it's going to be a great event. We're going to have a grand march and dance with a lunch provided for everyone who's there. Key Club is picking up their events again, and right now they're looking at their 26-27 leadership and how that's going to shake out. Her band, the jazz band, went to New York over spring break. They went to several jazz clubs and a jazz-themed Broadway show called Buena Vista Social Club. Jazz Fest is coming up here at the end of April with both high school jazz bands, the middle school jazz bands, the jazz choir, and then the community jazz band. And then there's the guest artist will be Eric Marienthal. And the next band concert is May 4th with guest artist Rex Richardson.
Aaron, thank you. That's a lot of things going on, a lot of things to keep track of, and a special note of thanks and appreciation to Coach Spahn for his recognition in the district for as coach. Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, last week I was able to attend the Rams lunch, where they had the city and townships and also the school districts meet with state representatives and senators. Unfortunately, it wasn't as well attended by the legislators in person, but Senator Farnsworth and Representative Scraba were there. Representative Igo was able to attend via Teams but gave a presentation, but was unable to be around for a few questions that came up later. Senator Hochschild was unable to attend, but he had some representation there listening on. We were able to the school district portion was right at the end. I got my one question in, so we at least got something on there. But it was I do appreciate that format that they're doing there. And it's to go to Mountain Iron to get in front of them is well worth my time versus trying to get down to the cities for a battle round around. So we were able to get in front of them and talk, and it was hopefully we keep getting the same message out, and that's all we can try to do. So that's all I have.
Tom, thank you. Mark? I just have 2 things. I participated in the board advisory meeting last week, and the participation was really excellent. I think that's really a process that is working for us. And I've been participating in some negotiation sessions. That's all I have.
Mark, thank you. I have nothing to report. Ashley?
I also participated in the forward community meeting, and it was probably one of the most engaging meetings that we've had so far, and mainly because that was again, we discussed this earlier in the evening, but it was a process that allowed our community members to fully understand what it means to have, the imaginary district that you could absolutely dream of with all of the funds that you want and need, and then to have that rug pulled out from underneath you and the whys that come with that. And so it was interesting to hear all of the, oh no, how are we going to do that? And why, oh man, we don't have, it was just interesting to listen to everybody's thought processes after we had to make cuts or we had to kind of backpedal a little bit. So that was a good meeting to be a part of. And I just have a quick question for Aaron about Prom with a Purpose. Is that at the Rife?
Yes.
What time does that start? It's okay. Yeah,
I
it's fine.
believe-
No, you're fine.
Grand March is at, I think I have a remind about it. Let me double.
While you're looking, one more question. What other school districts are a part of that Prom with a Purpose? Do you know?
I believe this year it's just our district. In the past, it has been IASC, I think, but there was some staffing changes that led to some like difficulties there. But we're looking at expanding it back again next year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Melissa?
Yeah, I too attended the Rams legislative lunch, and some of us attended last year where it was just school board. And just a reminder, these legislators were actually on vacation last week. So showing up is a big deal. I mean, they were on break. And so, yeah, Spencer was working another job, as he put it. And Senator Hochschild had a death in the family, so was unable to attend. So just, we have other legislators who didn't come. So maybe next year we can take a look at timing on that, maybe with Paul, and see if there's a better time. Fridays, often legislators can meet locally a little bit easier, but we can check on that. One thing that wasn't brought up, which you always think of something when you get to the car, and I thought of something when I got to the car, and that was the seasonal unemployment payments, and nobody actually asked a question about that. I do know that there is legislation and some conversations moving, but all the legislators said that there's not a lot that's going to happen, yet there's been 4,500 bills introduced in the last. So when they say they don't know about a bill, it may not be that they don't care. It's just that there's so many bills in motion right now. After this session, they start back at zero. So like the legislation that was introduced last year is still in play this year. So just know like it's kind of like a clean slate next year. So we'll see some of the same bills come up again, and some of them come up for 10 years before they even really move. So it was really interesting. I did think because we were at the end of the agenda, so it was like townships and others went first. There was only like 10 minutes, I think. So Tom got his question in with like 10 minutes. And so maybe next year, although it was nice to see that everybody is struggling with the same issues. And it doesn't matter if it's a school district or a township or a city. I mean, everybody's struggling with a lot of the same issues, which makes you feel a little less crazy. So that was a lot to be said, but interesting. And I would love to see the kids from New York. Did they ever come in? If they did, I missed it. Did they come in and do a presentation, the kids that went to New York?
No.
Usually they come back and they give us a little presentation.
They got back from New York on Wednesday.
Okay, so just recent.
Yeah.
So we'll give them a break too.
We
Same
haven't seen
thing.
them
Like we haven't really. They're still coming.
Yeah, they're still
coming back
vacation.
around. Great. Thank you.
Melissa, thank you. Dave?
Yeah, a few things. Some interesting last couple of weeks. I was able to, as part of the Rife Arts Council, welcome the band Soul Asylum to the Rife Center, which was kind of a treat, and heard a lot of great just reviews of that acoustic performance, which was kind of a neat deal. And I also attended the recent production of The Wizard of Oz. It had a lot of our kids from our schools in it, and it was incredible. It was a little bit surreal sitting there watching Dorothy and giving our Judy Garland stuff in Grand Rapids. It was kind of cool. But hats off to the entire Rife staff for great production, and these kids that we have in our community are pretty talented, pretty amazing to see. I scheduled and then had a one-on-one discussion with Spencer Igo regarding our legislative priorities, and I think it went really well. We just did a Teams call, and he shared a pretty positive outlook on his or the constitutional amendment to increase the permanent school disbursement amendment. And so we'll see where that goes, but he felt when we talked pretty good about where that was headed. So fingers crossed that goes well. Unfortunately, I've not yet even heard a response to my email from Representative Davis on doing the same thing. I still would like to connect with him, but just have not heard back. Participated in several negotiations with a few bargaining units. Thank you, David, for running the meeting tonight in my absence. I appreciate that. And then the last thing, a question for Matt and our facilities team is, it's been a few weeks now, so I'm just wondering if we have an update on a plan for our camera system getting fixed. And that's all I have.
The one in the room here, David?
Correct.
Dave? Yeah, I don't have an update on that.
Okay.
Julie, do you?
I actually do have an update. Just today, this morning, I got an email, said they're on their way up here. Luckily, we were here today. And they took a look. It's the camera splitter that just had no power, and it's the power pack in there that is bad. And so it's 12 volt, 5 watt. I wrote it all down, all the details. They didn't have a powerful enough one here in Grand Rapids. So they are looking elsewhere down in the cities where the company is from to get a large enough power pack for that camera splitter. And I would anticipate our next board meeting then is on April 20th, and it should be fixed by then.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie.
Welcome.
Julie, thank you. Dave, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Superintendent, do you have a report?
Yeah, just two things. I included in your packet some guidance that I put together. We talked about the trip to New York. That's an example of a domestic trip. And we've done a lot of work on field trip approvals and the process and things like that in the last few years at the policy level. That falls into a particular category that comes to my desk ultimately for approval after being approved by the principal. We have other trips when they leave U.S. soil, they come to this board to approve. And so I'd gotten a lot of questions about decision-making around trips. And I think from a transparency and kind of a trying to keep things equal or fair as much as we could, it was important for staff to have something to look at. So I put this together. I got some feedback from a number of parties, and I let the groups that traditionally travel, I gave them a copy of this so they could have it, take a look at it, and also to the principals that work in the buildings that have traveling happening so that they can give it to anyone that may be considering this in the future. So I'm just giving it to you for information. Might be something that the board wants to take a look at for when trips come to you. You don't have to use this guidance, but it might be useful for you as well. So just sharing that with you. The last thing, I had a compensatory revenue task force meeting today, and very interesting. We met with State Department from New Mexico. We were curious about some reform they've done to their student funding formula, particularly around students at risk. And they have an interesting system where instead of using forms or direct certification to identify kids in poverty, they are using the data systems in their state, and relationships exist where the State Department of Education can communicate with the Department of Revenue on income taxes and match children to their household. And they get about 70% of the data they need from that match. And then they get about 17% of their data. Then if a kid doesn't get matched there, they work with Department of Human Services through kind of a direct certification process. That gets them that next, 17%. And then the remainder, they're able to use census tract data to as a proxy for any child that might not be attached to one of those other two methods. And they said last year there were only 7 kids in their state that they weren't able to match with one of those 3 mechanisms. So it was very interesting to our committee because one of the big questions we've been trying to resolve is what's the most accurate way to identify children that are in poverty or that are at risk because of that. And so I think it was interesting. The next step will be to see, check around with our units of at the government level to see what relationships and data systems exist. Not that we're ready to land on this, but to know that there might be another option we hadn't seen in this depth before is interesting. But there's a lot of, I know, ping pong being played with compensatory revenue, hold harmless down at the state. The state does have a minimum spend level in law that is actually more than what the current law would cost. And so the state will have to come up with a way to spend that additional compensatory revenue. It's less than this current fiscal year, but more than what's the current law has for next fiscal year. That's really confusing. But in the event that even they can't afford a hold harmless, there might be some sort of prorated option that that'll have to be looked at really because of that, the way the law is written. But a lot of questions about that still up in the air.
Superintendent, thank you. Any questions or comments for the superintendent?
I guess I had one. The model that is intended to be used for compensatory right now, how was that formula developed? Do you have any background on that? Because they're basically saying we're not taking forms anymore. We're deciding if you're low risk. How are they getting that data, or are they just randomly picking it? How do they make their judgment choice?
Yeah, so the state went through a process of going from forms to forms and direct certification to what's on the books for fiscal 27 is direct certification only. And students are identified as direct certification or directly certified if they or their household participate in federal county benefits, things like that, like SNAP or EBT, if they're adjudicated. And so we have to report that data anyway. So that's what they put in place. The reasons behind that, I've heard a variety. One of them is that some districts have had challenges collecting forms. And so that they're like, well, let's make this formula easy. I don't think it was a good idea. It undercounts students that are reduced price. It really undercounts them. There are some factors or multiplication factors that can be put in place to sort of account for that. But when I look at the districts that were harmed the most by the change to the current formula, it's districts that collected a high percentage of forms, which we did, and districts that have a higher percentage of students that would fall in a reduced priced category, which we do. And so if a district didn't fall into those categories, they might have come out ahead. So that's the history of kind of that's how that landed where it was.
Matt, can I add a quick note to that? I think what you're saying is that districts that didn't do as good of a job of collecting forms may come out a little more ahead with the new model, but they were running short of what they should have been receiving the whole time, right? So
I'd say that's probably accurate. I think that's probably accurate. If you go back to the forms only days, I think they were running short compared to what they should have been receiving. Right. I think in the research that we've done on the task force, there are many districts, many states where they're using multiple data points to count children. They're using forms and direct certification like we did for at least a year, or they're using forms and family questionnaires that they do every 3 years, or they're using multiple measures to try to most accurately identify the number of children that fall into that category. I think doing anything short of multiple measures is going to undercount or at least not be accurate.
One more thing, and bottom line, if we don't do forms, the federal government's not going to step in at all. Is that a correct statement? I mean, what the state gets from the feds is going to be based on those forms.
Yeah, we'll still have to do forms. We will still have to collect forms because it's a federal requirement. So we'll still have to do that. It just won't directly affect compensatory revenue. The other thing that's really challenging about direct certification, because the federal government has made changes to Medicaid, Medicare, some of those federal programs made it more challenging to qualify. That's going to affect the number of families that qualify for those programs, which will directly affect the direct certification count. So I don't know that impact's entirely been quantified, but it's unquestionable that it will. The other thing that the districts are dealing with, and I think, the dynamics that exist as a result of Operation Metro Surge, whether wherever you land with that has had an effect on some families' willingness to communicate or provide information to certain organizations. And what we're finding and what we're hearing from school districts is that families still feel comfortable sharing information with their schools. But outside of their schools, they get nervous and may not participate or may not engage. And so not having forms as part of the solution, unless there's a really large change, I think will be a problem for our state to not have forms at least be a part of the solution.
Excellent. Mr. Superintendent, thank you very much. Appreciate the update on comp services. The guidance on the student travel is an excellent report. And we had the update on forward earlier in our workshop session. So thank you very much, Mr. Superintendent. Meeting announcements. We have upcoming school board and committee meeting dates posted on each agenda. The meeting agendas can be found on the district website and on designated posting site at ISD 318 Educational Service Center. We won't read those here, but they're available online for anybody who wishes to see that. Is there any other business that should come before the board this evening? Hearing none, I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
See you, Dave.
I'm supposed to take a motion.
Oh, you can't see me. I'm waving.
Are we voting to adjourn, or what are we?
Probably you said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah,
So
it's not
moved.
a necessary step in the rules. No.
Oh, no,
Okay,
we're adjourned. Thank you.
see you guys.
I'm assuming there is.